Anything like? What's the similarity between?
Hey, welcome in. Thursday, time for another edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. We are in commercial, getting ready to start. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the Georgia school shooting, unfortunately, very unfortunately. We're going to talk about the Columbus data breach, which is the topic that keeps getting worse and worse and worse for the city and the people who are in charge of it. We'll start with a term under which both of those issues fall, and I hear the band playing, so here we go. Well, it's fitting, perhaps, that as the movie Reagan plays out in theaters across the country, some things Ronald Reagan said are starting to resonate with us again. And, of course, one of the famous things that the former president said was that the 9 scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." We used to hear a lot about government needing to be more efficient, government efficiency, and that fell under the umbrella of an oxymoron because government has ceased to be efficient, and we see that locally and we see that nationally as we begin a Thursday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. Nationally, we see it with the Georgia school shooter yesterday. We have 2 students, 14 years old each, and 2 teachers who are dead today. They were shot by a 13-year-old whose name we will not give. We don't give the names of mass shooters because if they are seeking fame, we don't want to play into that desire. But this 13-year-old boy was on the radar of the FBI as early as a year ago. There were anonymous tips about online threats that he supposedly made regarding a school shooting at an unidentified location. Now, he lived in a different county then. He has since moved to a different county in Georgia, but the FBI met with him and his father at that time. And the father said, "Yes, I have guns. They're in a gun cabinet. The combination is unknown to my son. He does not have access to them." And so nothing else happened until this kid showed that he was serious, and he killed 4 people yesterday and wounded 9. And so here is an explanation from a police official yesterday at one of the, I think, 3 press conferences that they had as to why this 13-year-old, despite being on the FBI radar, was not in custody.
They conducted an investigation at that time, and there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action. This is not recent. This is in the past, but we wanted to bring that to your attention because we are pursuing that, working with the FBI on that, and any connection to that incident that could be connected to today's incident as well.
Now, I will say regarding the aftermath of this shooting, I think the law enforcement has done a really good job coming out and speaking. You could say, well, the first press conference yesterday, they really didn't say anything. And that's true. They didn't. They were in the middle of an investigation that was only hours old. But the vacuum of information becomes a problem because when there's a vacuum, people try to fill it. And so they start speculating or they start putting people on as sources who really don't have any inside information on it. So the sheriff of Barrow County came out yesterday and he said, "I'm not going to answer any questions. I don't have a lot of details, but at least you've got somebody who is official and somebody who will have information for you out in front of the cameras, if for no other reason, filling time and maybe quelling some fears." Now, there's a lot of political hay to be made here for Democrats off another school shooting, another assault rifle, another reason to take away your guns. And I predicted yesterday, and I've been proven right already, that this would be used. We skip right over the victims, of course. We're going to go right to the what the Democrats want you to believe is the cause, which is a gun, rather than the person who uses the gun in a way that the gun can be used, but is certainly not ideally designed for. It's designed for personal protection, or it's designed for hunting. It's not designed to be an instrument of mayhem in a high school. There's also been, throughout the years, because of this Democratic push against guns, an effort to diminish the presence of what are called school resource officers, which is a euphemism because nobody in education, public education, wants to say we have a police officer in our school. So they call them a school resource officer, as if they're out, pruning evergreen trees or something. No, School resource officers are armed officers who are in schools specifically for situations like this that administrators, board members, community members, and students hope never to have a need for. But unfortunately, we have an increasing number of places where there is a need for them. And yesterday, the school resource officer, and I don't know how many they have in this school district, some districts have eliminated school resource officers altogether because, of course, that made perfect sense because a police officer in Minneapolis, Minnesota, knelt on George Floyd after George Floyd resisted arrest. And so because that happened with a drug addict in Minnesota, we have to get the cops out of our schools here. That's how Democrats think. And so a lot of schools did. They took school resource officers out of schools. What would have happened yesterday if Appalachia High School had not had a school resource officer? Well, here's the sheriff of Barrow County answering a question about that very circumstance.
Sheriff, can you talk about the initial interaction between whoever was able to stop the shooter? Can you describe that to us? How did it go down? What exactly happened?
Obviously, the shooter was armed, and our school resource officer engaged him. And the shooter quickly realized that if he did not give up, that it would end with an OIS, or an officer-involved shooting. He gave up, got on the ground, and the deputy took him into custody. That's a remark.
So there you go. That is the purpose of a school resource officer. You don't want to have to kill a school shooter, particularly if they're a 13-year-old boy. He didn't have to. The boy surrendered, but without the school resource officer there, would we be talking about more deaths than the 2 students and the 2 teachers? Quite likely we would be. Quite likely we would be. Now, one of the teachers who was killed was an assistant football coach. Here is a student who unfortunately saw things he'll never be able to forget with that math teacher and football coach, and how the students tried to administer aid to him after he had been shot.
Mr. Aswan did have a gunshot wound to the bottom of his chest. He was bleeding out. Some other kids got up and they dragged his body inside and closed the door. After they dragged him in, I started barricading the door with all the things I could find. Well, me and some other kids, we lifted up his shirt, see where the gunshot wound was, maybe try and stop it, put some pressure on it. The bleeding would not stop, so we kind of just stopped until the cops got there.
So that's obviously a horrific scene, and images that those young people will never get out of their minds. But much appreciation to them on their bravery, on their coolness under pressure in a situation that no kid should ever have to confront. So that's the national demonstration of government inefficiency. The FBI had this kid on the radar. They weren't watching him. They weren't paying attention. They probably didn't check back. And this transpired. Locally, of course, we don't need a whole lot of additional information on the fact that there is no efficiency in Columbus city government, but we are getting more and more and more information, though the city has tried very hard to keep you in the dark about the data breach. 500,000 of you have had your data compromised. It is out there on the dark web. How hackers will use it, we don't know. But they have a new plaything. We went through yesterday. What can a hacker do with your driver's license? Only open bank accounts, get access to your mail, open loans in your names, nefarious things like that. And the city is trying to keep you in the dark and has gone to great lengths to keep you in the dark by suing the Good Samaritan whistleblower who came forward after Mayor Andrew Ginther said, don't worry, everything that was taken was encrypted and is unusable. And this whistleblower said, no, it isn't. I can download it and I have access to it, and here it is. And he continued over the course of maybe 2 weeks to make Mayor Ginther and City Law Director Zach Klein look like the buffoons that they are. And so Zach Klein last week sued to shut up the whistleblower. And in doing so, Zach Klein held a press conference at which he dodged questions about whether the whistleblower had actually broken the law in some way, shape, or form. And he also said that the reason why he had to file the lawsuit was because the whistleblower went to the television stations in town and he never went to the city of Columbus. And if only he had come to the city of Columbus, maybe they would have viewed him differently. Well, we now know, courtesy of reporting from NBC4, that's Channel 4 on your dial, that the whistleblower did indeed first call the city. Not just once, but 4 times before going to the media. And that his calls were ignored. Here is the quote from Zach Klein a week ago when he sued this guy. He says, if there's information that needs to be brought forward, there is a way to disclose that information to law enforcement and not go directly to the media. This is why we had to file the temporary restraining order. The problem with this is they keep records of calls coming into the city of Columbus. And NBC4 filed a Freedom of Information Act request, and they found the voicemail. And they have the contents of the voicemail. And in the voicemail, the whistleblower introduces himself and says, you probably want to give me a call. I'm going to the news right now with regards to all the data that was exposed. Someone in the Department of Technology is lying. If you give me a call back, I'd appreciate it. I'll walk you through all the data. Or in this case, the municipality. If you want all the facts and all the information, give me a call back. And they never did.
Shine real hot though, without stars will be out tonight, clear with low 61. Partly sunny tomorrow with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm in the afternoon, high up to 85. Cloudy tomorrow night with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, low 54. Into the weekend Saturday, some sunshine with high 68. Clear and cold Saturday night. A jacket may come in handy for the football game. That low dip at a 45. I'm Ruth O'Brien on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Hey everyone, Charlie Kirk here. Did you know that 80% of adults take supplements?
Only 2 live
One
reads.
thing your dog can't do without you is improve their diet or help to feel their best. That's why I believe Rough Greens could dramatically help your best friend by adding what's missing to their diet like you do.
The Wi-Fi came back for a second and then it went down again.
Feel better and live longer, including my dog who loves it. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, who created Rough Greens, is also an airborne ranger and Green Beret, an amazing background. He loves dogs and he's on a mission to help as many as he can. Listen carefully, dog food is dead food. Rough Greens supplements your dog's food with essential vitamins and minerals, omega oils, digestive enzymes, probiotics, and antioxidants. Dr. Black is offering a free Jumpstart trial bag to get back their energy, improve elimination, and get rid of itching, scratching, achy joints, and bad breath. Fetch your free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover shipping. Don't change your dog's food. Just add Rough Greens today. That is ruffgreens.com/Kirk. And Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black. You check it out. And if you are a cat owner, check out Meow Greens. That's all you can find at ruffgreens.com/Kirk.
The Tilton family at Tilton's Automotive Service has been serving our community with state-of-the-art equipment for nearly 35 years. From oil changes to detailing to complete engine replacement, we're here to serve you to the highest levels and make you part of the family. All our repairs are backed by a 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty. Check out our mobile app for discounts and specials. Tilton's Automotive Service, in the shadow of Anheuser-Busch in Columbus and just off Creekside in Gahanna. For more info, check out tiltonsauto.com. Take it to Tilton's.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before space runs out by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at RagerCruise.com.
I've been playing sports all my life. Little football, basketball, pickleball, cross training, mud events, Spartan races and things like that.
For Dr. Eric Williams, a successful chiropractor, staying active means everything. So when nagging knee pain slowed him down, he didn't want drugs or invasive surgery. He found a natural way to get lasting relief. QC Kinetics Cellular Therapy.
We're using my body's natural ability to get better. And that's huge. In time, that's going to be the way of the future. Using your own body's ability to heal. Now I can play day to day. That severe pain.
Now he's back out there doing what he loves. Thanks to QC Kinetics.
Life is good. You're not going to slow you down.
Leave the pain behind and get moving. Book your free consultation today with QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump. and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
Some people call it gaslighting. I'm tired of that term. It's not gaslighting. It's lying. And they know they're lying. They know they're lying about a federal abortion ban with Donald Trump. They're trying to scare women. Yeah, they're going to try to lie. They'll lie about everything.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Well, we've done it before, and we are doing it again. Yes, the Battleground Talkers Tour is coming back to Genoa Church. We did it there a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe. This time on October the 22nd, we will gather with you, our loyal 9890 Answer audience, and we will have Mike Gallagher, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder from the Salem Media Network, Jack Windsor of the Windsor Report, and myself. We will also have some very special political figures there that evening. It's your chance to come out and unite, because this is, I think, the most consequential election ever. Everybody says that, but we never had the threat of communism taking us over like we have with Kamala Harris before. So you need to get out, you need to get motivated, and you need to be motivated to tell your friends why they need to vote the right way in this upcoming election. Tickets are general admission, $5. VIP tickets, which admit you to a little meet and greet beforehand. If you'd like $25 off those, use the promo code Bruce25 at checkout. All that can be done at 9890answer.com. I continue to await somebody, anybody in the city of Columbus. I'm not a resident, so I can't do it. But somebody in the city of Columbus, when are you going to start the petition to recall Mayor Andrew Ginther and get rid of City Attorney Zach Klein? These are the two chief buffoons who are at the center of the data breach that has exposed 500,000 citizens, at least, to hacking and all kinds of mayhem that can result from that hacking. And the city has filed a lawsuit against the guy who brought most of this to the citizens' attention through the media. This is how the media works, right? You'll hear this with Kamala Harris people. Oh, she doesn't need to talk to the media. She doesn't need to talk to them. She's talking to the voters. Well, hey, dope. That's how you talk to the voters, is through the media. Trump did a town hall last night in Pennsylvania. Was he talking to Sean Hannity or was he talking to the voters? Yes, he was talking to both, okay? So the mayor and the city law director have had very little to say about this data breach. They would just like for you to stay uninformed, stay stupid, because you have to be, to vote for Democrats, whether we're talking local, whether we're talking state of Ohio, or whether we're talking national. You have to be utterly stupid and to not see how inept these people are, particularly Zach Klein and Andrew Ginther as it relates to the data hack. Because Zach Klein sued the whistleblower who went to the media with details on this data hack that directly contradicted Andrew Ginther telling everyone, oh, nothing to see here. It was all encrypted and it's unusable. And the whistleblower said, no, it's not. Called the Department of Technology 4 times before his first interview with any television station in the market. And he also reached out to 4 staff members in Zach Klein's office. And Zach Klein's lie for why he didn't call him back is, I have 175 people who work for me, and no one has ever come to me directly or indirectly and said, this whistleblower wants to talk to me, period, full stop. Okay, let's go through that lie. See, this is how you lie with facts, okay? So Zach Klein has 175 people who work for him. What do you think the odds are if you called right now down to the city of Columbus and say, hi, I'd like to speak to City Attorney Zach Klein? What do you think the chances are he'd come online and go, hi, Zach Klein here? What do you think the chances are? 0, okay? So he has multiple firewalls built between him and the public. You gotta go through his secretary, you gotta go through like some director of something. The longer the title, the dumber, the more worthless the person is. And he's got multiple people there. And none of them, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, government efficiency, none of them ever went to him and said anything. So he could be true. He could be right saying, nobody ever said anything to me. The point is, your office was not functioning to protect the citizenry at this time. And that is its job. And that is your job as the person who directs your office. And then, of course, when Channel 4 said, well, here are the names of your staff members that the whistleblower reached out to, Zach Klein did what all government officials do. Let me look into that and I'll get back to you. And Channel 4 is, of course, still waiting for Zach Klein to get back to them. Now, Bill Bush, Columbus Dispatch, also writes about the data hack today. I don't know, Bill. I don't wish any ill on Bill. Bill, I hope you're not imprisoned for writing bad things about Zach Klein and Mayor Ginther, because that seems to be the attack that they take. It's the attack that all Democrats take. January 6th, insurrection. Okay? So the whistleblower has disclosed that a large portion of the city's data was available for people to download and use. Well, you can't talk to the whistleblower anymore. So Bill Bush decided he would go talk to two other cybersecurity experts from universities. One of them from Kent State University says that the whistleblower's logic here is sound. That unencrypted personal identifiable information is a dreadful notion. A dreadful notion. And that is what happened with the city. They had this data. They didn't encrypt it. If you got your hands on it, you didn't have to have a code to unlock it and read it and understand it. It was just right there for you. It was available for hacking, and it was on a platter. And as I told you before, with the firefighter that I spoke to, who had the firefighters in Columbus, their union, had an FBI expert go to City Hall, try to find out what was going on. And the FBI expert came back and reported to the firefighters. He overstated it, of course, but in the overstatement is an indictment of the city. He said a fourth grader could have got into that system, and once they were in, there was no restrictions on where they could go. No restrictions at all. That has proven to be true with every single thing I've read since this has happened. And so, what about the other university expert? The first one from Kent State says, the whistleblower's logic here is sound. Encryption is indeed a fundamental cybersecurity practice for organizations that handle sensitive data, especially those subject to audits and certifications. So encryption is essential, but not always practiced in governmental bureaucracies. The lack of encryption on such systems would be considered a significant security oversight. Ooh, watch out, Bill Bush. You probably get 6 months for writing that. So then Bill Bush went to Tom Holt, a professor in the School of Criminal Justice at Michigan State, who specializes in cybercrime and cybersecurity. And he also said, for all this information to be out there on the web, it had to be unencrypted in some way. Unencrypted. He said any sensitive files should always be encrypted, but often aren't, particularly if they are kept locally by a certain department, such as a police department. We now know, thanks to the whistleblower, that if you spoke to a police officer from 2014 forward and you gave any information on a crime, your name is in a police report, and those police reports are online for bad actors to use. If you help put somebody behind bars, and they have since been released from prison, with the right access to those files, they could know exactly what you said to the cops, and they could know the role that you played in putting them behind bars. So Bill Bush of the Dispatch asked this Michigan State cybersecurity expert whether Columbus followed protocols that are prudent. And he said, no, this would definitely fall under what are not best practices. We see a lot of variations from agency to agency, well, at least when we're talking about police agencies at the local level. And shockingly, Andrew Ginther had no comment. Well, if you are looking for great products and convenience shopping, then I can help you. PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce. Great products, awesome products. We use the body lotion, the shampoo, the laundry detergent, the dishwashing soap, the mouthwash, the toothpaste, the vitamins, the supplements, on and on and on. Convenience, they ship it right to our house every month. And the more you buy, the more you will save. And of course, you also can get bonus dollars just by watching videos that tell you about the products that you are buying. Do they do that for you at Walmart or Kroger? Do they guarantee you that everything is made from plants and won't harm you? Do you know what those mysterious ingredients are on the back of the package? And most of all, do you know what Kroger and other big corporations, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, the people who make the products on their shelves, what they do with your money when you buy products there? Yes, they send it to woke causes that you don't support. So many reasons to shop at PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce. Leave me your information. I can tell you all about PatriotSwitch.com/Bruce. True story. Stop me if you've heard it. The Russians are coming. The pesky Russians are, according to Merrick Garland and the Justice Department and Chris Wray and the FBI, those Russians apparently did not learn their lesson in 2016, nor in 2020. They are back at it, and they are interfering in the 2024 presidential election. If you don't believe me, listen to Merrick Garland yesterday in Washington, D.C.
It's an acceleration of, and it's an increased sophistication of, and it's use of AI and cyber techniques that were not available in earlier elections.
Oh.
We're just seeing more and more. It's coming faster and faster. It's now AI fueled. They're now using bot farms in a way that was not possible before.
Oh, more and more, faster and faster. No doubt, better and better. And we're on top of it here at the Justice Department. Yes, I'm sure you are on top of it. In 2016, we were told after Trump got elected that he got elected because the Russians interfered. And they bent everyone's mind with memes and misinformation on Facebook. And then there was a deep dive done on the impact of the actual Russian bots on social media, and it was found to be virtually non-existent. But that didn't stop. That did not deter Barack Obama and the people he had implanted in the Justice Department who had already been spying on Donald Trump's campaign. And remember, Peter Strzok said in advance of Trump's election, we have a plan. Well, they had a plan, except Trump got elected because Hillary was such a terrible candidate. They couldn't muddy the election results like they were soon to do in 2020. And so Trump was in office, and they pretty much tried to ruin his entire presidency with the Trump is a Russian cat's paw. Trump is a Manchurian candidate. Trump and Vladimir Putin are old pals. And Putin is actually running the U.S. government through Donald Trump as a surrogate. Russia. And we had that nonsense play out for, 3 years? And how many millions did we waste on that? And nothing came of it. Then in 2020, Joe Biden got elected by a very narrow margin, which afterward we found out would not have existed if only the story about Hunter Biden's laptop, which the New York Post published in October of 2020, but was then silenced by Facebook, quashed, crushed by Facebook, by Instagram, by Twitter, then owned by Jack Dorsey, by everybody. Nobody got to see that story. New York Post was taken off Twitter. Word of mouth was the only way that it could spread, and it didn't spread quite enough for Joe Biden to lose the election. He won it by the razor-thin margin of 40,000 to 70,000 votes. And what we now know is that the FBI had that Hunter Biden laptop a year before the laptop repair shop owner gave the hard drive to Rudy Giuliani because he first gave it to the FBI, and he knew what was on it about Hunter Biden influence peddling around the world and collecting millions and millions and millions of dollars from foreign enemies of the United States, and nothing was being done, and he got impatient, and he thought, well, I'm going to give this to Rudy Giuliani. Now, Rudy Giuliani may not be the most trustworthy character in the world, but we now know, because Hunter Biden is having jury selection this week for his federal tax evasion charges. Do you know one of the things that the government is going to introduce as evidence? You know where they're going to get some of the evidence that they're going to introduce this week to try to put Hunter Biden behind bars? Not really, but they don't really want to, but they kind of have to try because they've been shamed for letting the most serious charges lapse. They're going to get the information from that laptop, which we were told after it came out had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. 51 former CIA operatives, John Brennan, James Clapper, and others. Oh, this is all Russian disinformation. And in fact, they were so nervous about the Hunter Biden laptop coming out in advance of the 2020 election that the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA all went to the social media companies a year ahead and said, hey, we think Russia is going to try to pull a fast one in advance of the election. And it might be about, let's just say Joe Biden has a son who's a derelict drug addict. And maybe they'll contend they have like his laptop. And so if you hear any stories about a laptop, you should be, I'm just, not telling you what to do, but you should be probably inherently suspicious of said laptop. They planted the seed and they harvested the misinformation and fed it to the social media companies before the laptop story ever came to light. Now, why did they do that then? And why are they doing it now? Because if you create the expectation that a foreign actor is going to meddle in an election, you know what you also create? You also create a justification for censorship of news you don't like, of headlines that reflect poorly on the candidate you hope to win. Was there any doubt, given Peter Strzok's message before the 2016 election, we got ways to handle it, don't worry? Was there any doubt then that they wanted Hillary Clinton to win instead of Donald Trump? Was there any doubt in 2020 when they planted the seed, harvested the seed, and fed the misinformation to social media companies a year in advance of the election about, they might try something crazy with accusing the president's son of having a laptop with lots of incriminating information on it about influence peddling? Is there any doubt then that they wanted Joe Biden to win? Likewise. The reason why they come out right now and say, look out, Russian disinformation. Now they got bots and they got AI. And the reason they're doing that is because as Kamala Harris's momentum diminishes, if it diminishes, they have a failsafe to say, you can't say that, that's misinformation. You can't say that, that's Russia. You can't say that, that's it. So I do love that Vladimir Putin appears to be having great fun with this. You might have heard in the Salem news update at the bottom of the hour that Vladimir Putin reacted to Merrick Garland's press conference yesterday by saying that he now endorses Kamala Harris as president. My guess is this is in Russian, so I will play it, and if it's transcribed, I will read you what the evil Vladimir Putin has to say.
If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good.
Yeah, you got to see the video. Putin is like grinning, and the commentator, who is interviewing him is also laughing, and there's an audience there, and they are laughing and they are clapping. They are mocking us. And they should be, because this is utterly ridiculous. A fact pointed out by Molly Hemingway, who you see on Fox News and who is the executive editor of The Federalist.
All of it is disconcerting that foreign governments would try to meddle in our U.S. elections. What's particularly problematic, though, is our Department of Justice and FBI are the least credible people to talk about this, given the information operations they ran against the American people with their Russia collusion hoax, with their cover-up of the Hunter Biden laptop in which they lied about the situation and claimed that it was Russian disinformation and used that to censor American speech, even the first impeachment. The Department of Justice and FBI, there are consequences for those information ops they ran against the American people. And we do need protection from some of these foreign governments meddling in our elections. We also need protection from our Department of Justice, FBI, and other intelligence agencies who are doing the same.
Afternoon, brilliant sunshine. Real hot though, with a high up to 90. Stars will be out tonight, clear with low 61. Partly sunny tomorrow with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm in the afternoon, high up to 85. Cloudy tomorrow night with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, low 54. Into the weekend Saturday, some sunshine with high 68. Clear and cold Saturday night. A jacket may come in handy for the football game. Low dip at a 45. I'm Ruth O'Brien on 98.9 FM The Answer.
It's finally here. Fine Home Furnishings, Polaris location's grand opening. Dive into a world of premier American-made furniture featuring the best brands and endless customization options. The grand opening event offers special deals and a chance to transform your home with furniture as unique as you are. Don't miss out. Come celebrate. Fine Home Furnishings, Polaris Parkway. Fine Home Furnishings, OH.com.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday at 10 and 2 to Retire Ready Ohio with Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group. The firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Peters Wealth Group, a state-registered investment advisor.
Who does Joe Biden have to thank for backing his extreme liberal agenda?
I want to thank my buddy Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown backed Biden, voting to let transgender biological men participate in women's sports, and supported allowing puberty blockers and even sex change surgeries for minor children.
My buddy Sherrod Brown.
And Brown backed Bidenomics. Reckless Washington spending and inflation causing prices to soar. Groceries up 22%. Electricity up 32%. Gas up 50%. The Brown-Biden price increases are smothering hardworking Ohio families. Their extreme liberal policies are hurting Ohio. And who's to thank for this mess?
I want to thank my buddy Sherrod Brown.
Biden's buddy, Sherrod Brown. Way too liberal for Ohio. Vote no. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.senateleadershipfund.org.
Don't miss the podcasts that matter. Now on the Salem Podcast Network. Dinesh D'Souza.
This is a game in which the conclusion comes first, and then you look for data, and then if the data is, quote, disappointing, you start fiddling with the data. You can often claim that the data says something that it doesn't really say. Why? Because the ordinary person never checks.
Basically, you talked about the potential course for up to 17 years. We can probably safely assume it will be a lot less than that, if indeed there is any prison time involved at all. But we'll have to wait and see. Breaking news straight out of the court. No deal in place at this point, but there is a guilty plea.
Yeah, one of the things that my legal guest said at the top of the hour was that there was a need to rehabilitate the reputations of these attorneys after that sweep.
Free on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Chris is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
What could you make possible as an organ, eye, and tissue donor? Leave behind the gift of life. Go to organdonor.gov. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
I don't know about you, but are you eager to get out of bed in the morning? I am not. And the reason I'm not is in large part due to the fact that I have awesome products from MyPillow, the MyPillow mattress topper to sleep on, Giza Dream bed sheets, and the MyPillow itself. Now, if you say, no, I'm ready to get out of bed because I'm really not that comfortable or I've been tossing and turning all night, well, I don't know what is keeping you from sleeping well, but it might be your sleep products. And Mike Lindell has certainly revolutionized that industry, and he's revolutionized the pricing, because back when I bought my MyPillow, it was $80, and I didn't feel like I got taken because it stopped my neck pain. And I thought it was really cool that I didn't have to like turn it over in the middle of the night to find a side that wasn't hot from my body temperature. Don't understand the technology, just know how it operates. And I know now that it's $25, whether you want a king size or a queen size, due to the $25 extravaganza sale at mypillow.com when you use my promo code Bruce. mypillow.com, promo code Bruce. So they were supposed to be selecting jury members for the Hunter Biden tax evasion trial today in Los Angeles. But the breaking news is that Hunter Biden has agreed to change his plea to guilty in the case. Now, we do not have the terms of the guilty plea or the plea deal. And if you're like me, you are highly suspicious that the plea deal, which had he been convicted, they could have sentenced him to more than 15 years in prison, because he owed $1.4 million in taxes. Now, keep in mind, these are the least serious charges against Hunter Biden when it comes to his taxes. They let the most serious charges lapse. The whistleblowers, Gary Shapley, and I forget the other guy's name, said that in front of Congress. They were stonewalled at every attempt to try to hold Hunter Biden accountable for his tax crimes. And Hunter Biden's defense was going to be that I was a drug addict. Now, I know you're going, wait, that was his defense? Well, that tells you how little he had to offer in terms of defending himself against these, excuse me, against these charges. Because Hunter Biden spent $43,000. This is money he spent instead of paying his taxes. He spent $43,000 at a hotel in LA. He spent $11,500 to spend 2 nights with a hooker. I'm sorry, an escort. Maybe he needed, maybe he didn't feel safe in Los Angeles. He needed a big, strong security type to take him somewhere. Is that what an escort is? Hunter Biden spent $11,500. It must have been probably an ex-Navy SEAL. He spent $4,000 at a strip club. And these are just a few of the charges that he rang up instead of paying the money to Uncle Sam. Now, I would find it interesting to know, where did he get the money in the first place? I understand he owes the money. Where did he get the money? Like, do they look into that? If you don't pay your taxes and you only pay taxes on what you declare as income, right? And do they have any interest in where the income came from? I do. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this. I'm sure they will be unrelenting in their pursuit of justice against Hunter Biden. Now, how will this play? And will it play into the 2024 election? We have been assured by the mop-headed and completely incompetent Karine Jean-Pierre that Joe Biden will not pardon his son. Now, he could pardon Hunter Biden, and I know it's I lost track for a minute. We're talking about Joe Biden, so the possibility that he would be lying to us is quite real. But Biden could pardon Hunter Biden after the election, before Biden leaves office in late January, if he's still alive by then. But what would happen if Joe Biden croaked? And if you've seen him speak lately, it is not a long shot. I don't know, what would the odds be that Joe Biden even lives until the 3rd week of January? Did you hear him the other day speaking in Pittsburgh I mean, he was shouting and screaming and telling stupid stories and talking about the bricklayers union, saying that we are the strongest county in the world. I think he meant country, not sure. But Joe Biden doesn't look good. And this will be a ticklish situation if Kamala Harris becomes president because he dies. She's certainly not going to 25th Amendment him, even though she should, because, you know, it's kind of important that we have a president who knows what's going on. But I would fully expect that if there's any teeth in this sentence out of Hunter Biden's tax evasion charges, that Joe Biden would indeed pardon him. And Joe Biden's soaring popularity, which is an utter mystery to me because people couldn't stand him as a political candidate, and then he allowed himself to be pushed off the cliff by powerful Democrats, and then his popularity soared. I don't get that at all. But here's former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky on what Hunter Biden was intending to do in court today. So this may explain why Hunter realized this is a fool's errand, and I'll just go ahead and plead guilty.
Well, if the first trial of Hunter Biden was salacious in your mind, the second one is going to knock your socks off, I think. The idea of a multi-year scheme, essentially, of not paying your taxes is what the prosecutors are alleging. Now, what Hunter Biden is saying, as far as his defense goes, is that this is all about his drug addiction, that he was so addicted to drugs and so, I guess, out of his mind that he wasn't able to form the necessary specific intent to be deceptive in what he was doing. I think that is a very tall task for the defense to establish here, because it's not just a one-time event like we saw in the gun case that, you know, spanned maybe a couple of weeks. This is years and years, multiple times of not filing the taxes properly, not paying it, and misreporting wildly in the expenses that he claimed.
Yeah, so he's been allowed to get away with crimes of myriad law breaking throughout. He's lived such a charmed life, and I don't have any real optimism that he will be made to pay for the things that he has done. And this is the problem with our political system. It is entirely driven by who you know, what connections you can make. Joe Biden is a product of that. Kamala Harris is a product of that. She is not just a product of our political failings, but she's a product of the Peter principle, which is you just continually fail up. In fact, she's not the only one. I mean, look at the Biden administration. I have a question. What do you have to do to get fired from the Biden administration? Okay, you can say, oh, steal luggage that doesn't belong to you. Yes, yes. Is that Sam Brinton? The creepy guy with the puppy fetish who dressed up in women's clothes and was clearly a man. He had to steal it at least twice, though. The first time was a freebie. Any generals from the Afghan withdrawal? No. Alejandro Mayorkas, who has lied repeatedly in front of House and Senate subcommittees. You just caught him in another lie this week after Mark Zuckerberg wrote the letter and said, yeah, they were leaning on me during the 2020, 2021, COVID and all that, misinformation, stifle it. And Alejandro Mayorkas was already on the record going in front of Josh Hawley, was questioning him. And Hawley was saying, there are emails here that say you're pressuring social media companies. And Mayorkas is like, not doing it, not doing it. He lied. He's lied. Mayorkas still got a job? Yeah, he's good. He's fine. Failure is not only an option, it is a way of doing business in the Biden administration, and it has no consequences. And we have to penalize people for failing to do their jobs. Otherwise, they won't do their jobs. And in fact, what will happen is, like Kamala Harris, who didn't do her job as a attorney general in California and didn't really do her job as a senator in California, and certainly didn't do her job as a political candidate for president in 2019, yet she continues to ascend and continues to move up the ladder. As long as we reward failure, guess what we will get in the end? That's right. We will get failure. We will get policies like we have seen out of the Biden administration that's made middle-class Americans' lives more miserable. It's made us all feel more unsafe. It's made our world more unsafe because they're failure to punish failure.
Caribbean is calling. Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. Imagine 9 days of basking in the sun surrounded by the stunning beauty of a tropical paradise. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. Stroll through Curaçao's iconic pastel.
Thanks for watching. I appreciate that. You watch, and
Some of the most delicious cuisine aboard Holland America's
I hope you guys have a good day.
fantastic destination itself, with riveting shows and breathtaking views. We'll be joined by special guest Sean
I really do
McDowell,
appreciate it.
and we'll
Have a good day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Don't you want to go snorkeling with Prager? I can see it now.
this year. Secure your spot today by calling 855-565-5519.